What exactly does third base feel like?
Like warm apple pie.
Yeah?
What's the over-under on how many times you saw this? 3,000?
I've seen it a fair amount. It's a not Dumb and Dumber level, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. This is the background to so many people's like high school career, right? Like
For men of a certain age.
relevant, yeah, to like a window of young men that I think we fall into.
Oh, quite.
It's like a 4-year window, maybe.
Yeah.
Of like this was the movie that sort of not defined, but really just spoke.
This was the cultural event of my life. For those of us, like I said, of a certain age, this film came out in 1999, that wonderful, glorious year in cinema history where there was...
Is it the best year? I mean, we've talked about it before. Is it like the best
without
year?
thinking about it, yes. Like without, there's you look at the films that were released that year, and I feel like every weekend there's 3 all-time movies. Like it's incredible the amount of memorable, important films that came out that year. But this film was, we'll talk about it. It's like the focal point of my life was getting to see this film. This came out in 99, 98, 99 was my first year in high school. I was a freshman. When this film came out, I think was the summer after my freshman year, going into my sophomore year. I cannot imagine a more like important pursuit.
We will get laid!
Let's start with a little friendly shout out to our friends from Patreon, our wonderful patrons over there, Fish, Richie Rauscher, and Keith's an Idiot. Great name, by the way. Love it. Never gonna tire of it. Never change it.
Please,
Derek.
please change it. Please, I beg you.
Keith.
I have some valid points, like occasionally, right? Sometimes.
You called him an idiot, Keith. You called him an idiot. Well, there's
but
no
only
reason to
because
start.
he used his.
There's no reason to start lying about you having valid points. I mean, geez. Yeah, we're having a great time over there on Patreon. Go check it out sometime.
Yeah, and also subscribe to here.
Keith's right. Please give us a little subscription. We're on our way to 1,000, guys, and this is really important to us. We're trying to quit our jobs. We promise we'll never grow too big for our britches, and we'll never forget where we came from. But we need money. We're trying to get that ad revenue, and we want it.
Oh God, I'm telling you, Gillette razors are really clamoring to get on this channel. They can't wait.
We're making all this free content for YouTube, guys. We just want a little taste, just a little taste. Oh, no, well, you always go for this. We gotta.
What else am I supposed to do? How else do you taste something? You don't eat like this?
Segway Kings, American Pie, the book. Woo! We did it. All right, Tara Reid, what's up? Keith, American Pie. Pretty big deal.
Huge deal. It was a huge deal. I saw this movie in theaters. Did you see it in theaters? Did you get there?
I was trying to think. I have a memory of a ticket stub that said American Pie, but it might have been American Pie 2. I think I had to wait. For VHS, which left me very distraught. It took a long time to con my parents into seeing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. We loved it in the theater. Our theater, we loved it. We said,
I'm sure you
we're
did.
glad Everett's not here. He would ruin the time. Yeah. He'd ruin it.
Yeah.
So
it would have been a great theater experience at 15 years old. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, you know what? I honestly remember there's a handful of theater experiences I do remember, and American Pie, I think, would fall into that, especially that opening scene. Like I remember the shock and that like shocked laughter, like this is happening kind of laughter from that opening scene. And I don't know if that's a good place to start. Chronologically, it seems like it makes sense.
Yes.
But that opening scene like sets a tone in a way that I don't know if movies really did before that. That movie stands out to me. Maybe there's other films. Of course, there's always other films. But that movie stands out to me as like that cold open, punch you in the face, like we're setting a tone, bro. We're setting a tone, and here we are. Like, are you ready to dance? And I wasn't ready to do it. Yeah.
No, this movie,
the show
big swing.
it opens on from credits to just sex moans.
Yeah.
It's just, you just hear sex moans.
And a legend was born, and it quickly became my favorite film of all time. No, yeah, it was such a thing. It was such a thing, and I was really, I hadn't watched it in a really long time prior to this rewatch, but I joked with you earlier about, have you watched this 3,000 times? I probably have. Like, I mean, like I've watched this movie a lot, and it was just on. As soon as I got it, it was just on in my room at all times. I'd put it on and leave. You know, like I was just wearing that VHS out. But just culturally, I remember it was such a big deal. And it's funny now looking back, I wonder what young people today who might stumble upon the original American Pie and what they think of it. But this movie was, to your point, really groundbreaking in a lot of ways in terms of like the shock. It was the shock of what it was doing. It really came out, dare I say, fearlessly. If like, we're going to resurrect the, you know, quote unquote teen sex comedy, and we're not going to hold anything back. And they didn't. I mean, this was like the teen sex gross out comedy that was genuinely very funny. And it really goes for it in all of its scenes. Yeah.
Do you think did it feel, there's parts of it did for me, not all of it, but did it feel true to you? Did it feel like, did you identify with it in a way like, this is me and my buddies? This is something that I relate to?
To an extent. I mean, I remember being 14, 15, and, you know, sex was a priority.
Mucho sexo, 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 mucho sexo. Quiero sex!
If only because we thought it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, we thought like this, we have to do it. That's what you have to do. And obviously 14, 15, you're pretty interested in girls, even if you don't really understand why in every last detail. So yeah, it did ring true, where you were like, oh yeah, this is the most accurate depiction of what I'm going through right now that I've ever seen. Yeah. I kind of remember thinking that.
And I think that's where the secret sauce for this film lies, is that people could see themselves in this film very easily. If you're in that window and that specific type of person, that demographic, it just felt true, very true to you, to every person. It was like, oh yeah, this is me. I'm already this. It wasn't aspirational in that sense. It wasn't like, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I hope to be that someday. This is me already. This is me and my friends. We're out having fun, drinking beers, chasing chicks. Yeah, we're cool. We're so fun.
We're striking out.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Stuff out there.
It's hard out here.
It's hard out in the streets. I'm jerking off into socks, old socks.
Yeah. Just whenever anyone leaves us alone. I was struck on this recent rewatch. We say all of this like, you know, shocking adult stuff, this content that's in the film. I was struck by like how wholesome is not quite the right word, but just 25 years later, because we are at its 25-year anniversary, there was it feels kind of quaint, almost. And some of that is familiarity, because like the stuff that would probably be shocking is not a shock. Like, I know Stifler's gonna drink Homeboy's ejaculate.
What? Ejaculate.
Ejaculate.
Not ejaculate, ejaculate.
Because I've seen the movie 1,000 times. Perhaps a better way to say it is, for being a very, quote unquote, inappropriate, shocking comedy, it doesn't feel to me now like as at all like mean-spirited or like aggressively gross in the way that some comedies from the past, like even There's Something About Mary, which we talked about. Like people can nitpick that now and be like, there's certain mean-spiritedness. Some of the characters most of the characters are evil, like to an extent. They're mean, they're bad, quote unquote. This film has a certain wholesome energy to it, and it surprised me the amount of time and care that it took to pay attention to certain stories. Oz and Heather, particularly Chris Klein and Mena Suvari's love, their arc is very sweet, and it handles a lot of this. The scenes themselves are very shocking and inappropriate, but so much of the storytelling does feel very earnest and genuine, and I think that's probably a part of what's made it have such lasting impact.
Well, yeah, I think there's a movie in there. There's a movie in there.
There's a lot of heart.
Yeah, there's a movie in there, and I think that's the difference between any movie that is there just to shock you, or a movie that has shocking parts in it that are somewhat earned to some degree. You can't. These are all films. You can't ignore that part.
Yeah.
Although a lot of films do. A lot of people do. Unfortunately. To your point, there's a movie in there. There's some heart. There's some storytelling. There's a little bit of. It's not Shakespeare, but
yeah,
it does the things it needs to do to earn the right to be as kind of raunchy as it is at certain times.
Yeah, I think for 90-ish minutes to be that tight and also be juggling 15 characters, 12 kind of important characters.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's does this so flawlessly or everybody gets a complete arc, but it does a pretty solid job of progressing everyone's story forward enough and paying off most of it enough. You know what I mean? There I can nitpick examples of the characters that didn't get that as much, but again, for 90 minutes for a teen sex comedy, you're going to give me, 8 or 10 teenage characters and a few adults that you kind of have to have a sense of what their story is, and you kind of do all of that. It's pretty impressive. And
yeah.
I don't think the film would have been as successful, which it was, obviously, we should say, monstrously successful, and I don't think it would have spawned 7 or 8 sequels of various quality. If it weren't for the fact that, because I think you mentioned this, or alluded to this, that there's a lot of comedies that tried to come out after this in this mold that were not nearly, I referenced before, Tomcats, just gross out. Let's be gross out because that's what shocks people. That's what gets people in the theater. Oh, they're going to be talking. And, Tomcats, I get sick a little just saying the name, just remembering that film. But, that did not spawn a dozen sequels.
No. Well, because filmmaking is at the heart of it. Those are the scenes that people talk about. And that's what people focus on. So they go, well, that's what we need to do. But there's so much groundwork. I'm speaking generally, not about this film specifically. But there's a lot of groundwork and care that needs to get audiences to that point where then that becomes the boil over moment so we can go back and talk about it. You can't just have that moment. You can't just be like, here it is. Then you're like, what the fuck is this? Get it away from me. But if you walk me there, you get me to a point where it feels earned, then it's awesome.
Yeah.
But studio heads, I assume, just got no, give me the thing where he drinks semen. Awesome.
Funny. Which character do you feel most closely related to? Who do you relate to the most?
Probably Jim.
I see you as a Jim.
Jason Biggs. Probably Jason Biggs.
Yeah.
Yep. Lusting after girls that are way too good for him, like my wife. Failing miserably.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're more of a Nova guy?
My friends call me Nova. As in Casanova.
That's pathetic.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. that's very nice. No, I'm probably a weird amalgamation of most of them. What I thought, sadly to myself, I'm not any of these guys really, but I saw some Sherman. I was in my early high school career, I was really empathizing with Sherman, that poor guy, the outfit, the super baggy polo shirt and huge baggy jeans, and just
that was the look, man.
Yeah, the spiky hair. I mean, that Sherman, his style is on point. I'm gonna say he looks.
Sherman's
good.
Killing it.
He looks good, and he banged that chick. She's lying.
He did. He did. The Shermanator.
Yeah.
Repeat confidence is high. Sherman is moving to DEFCON 2.
Prior to your recent rewatch, when you think about American Pie, what do you think about? What comes first to mind?
I mean, the fucking the pie, I think is the scene of that film. Like, you know, and we talked about it at the Something About Mary episode. Scenes that you just like know, that are just in the zeitgeist of cultural significance. Like you just like, we all know that thing. We just all know it. The pie to me is one of those things. I'm trying to think if it has another one. I don't think it does. But that's the thing I think of.
It's the Nadia sequence. It's him running to and fro and her live streaming for a lot of reasons, but just because like that technology was so like unknown to most of us at that time. You have a Blink 182 song playing, Blink 182 cameos in that scene. That was like a month after their album Enema of the State came out, which was like the most important album to me when I was 14 and 15. Like, it was just so much of like rapid cuts and the reactions of people being like, this is the coolest, the little boy, the Stifler's little brother. Like, it just the editing of that scene seemed really funny and important. And you had Seann and Elizabeth naked, which was exciting, to say the least. So that to me is like, that's probably the first thing I think of when I think of American Pie. Also because, Segway King, that's probably, as far as things that have quote unquote aged the poorest, from a teen sex gross out comedy from the late 90s, that has to be it, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's... Yeah,
to me, I was surprised by how like wholesome and quaint so much of it felt, but then that scene, because of the way things are now, that scene is the most, you know, quote unquote problematic.
Yeah.
Defend it, you piece of shit.
It's art. Art takes all shapes. Yeah, you can't. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that without consent. That's. I mean, maybe that's the first evolution of OnlyFans. You know. Like, we needed to start there.
Jim was doing Nadia a favor. He was trying to show her passive income.
Yeah.
Trying to diversify her income streams.
How to make $10,000 a month without doing anything.
I'll say this about that scene, because to me, the most, you know, again, problematic aspect of it is that really she gets punished.
She's already on a plane back home.
And nothing happens to Jim. Like, that's obviously the whole situation is fucked. Like, this is a teenage girl in high school who is being broadcast across the internet naked, masturbating without her consent. All like ding, 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 like bad X. All of these things are bad. But then to end it with just like a throwaway comment of, oh, she got deported. And Jim is just getting teased a little at school for finishing too quickly twice, is fucked up. Like, that's not great. But I will say, just, this is not in defense of that situation, but just for context, because I would imagine too that like younger people that might watch this film today will be like, what the fuck? Like, you streaming this girl across? Like, that's so fucked up. It is. Full stop. It is fucked up. Don't do it. Never do it. Shouldn't have made light of it back then. But within the context of the time, this was 7 years before YouTube. Like, video online was not really a thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you think about what we were doing online in 98, it was not much. You know, it was like AOL Instant Messenger. So this was not a situation where, again, it sounds like I'm defending it. I am not. But it's not okay. But it's not a situation where there's like screen recording and where things live forever on the internet and all. Like, that's why people thought in that time this was a joke to make. Like, it was fine to make this situation because it's just horny teenagers making mistakes.
It would it's the equivalent of it's in Porky's when they're like looking through the holes in the girl's shower. Like, there's holes lined up.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I've never seen so much wool. You could knit a sweater is a line of dialogue from that scene.
I've never seen so much wool. You could knit a sweater.
I haven't committed it to memory, but I think it's just that again, I'm not defending it. It's wrong. Full stop. Yes, I agree.
Feels like you're defending it.
No,
Porky's
but I
episode
think,
coming soon, by the way.
I think the spirit of it. I guess I'm trying to defend the spirit of it.
I think your parallel. At first, I was like, it's not the same thing at all, but it kind of is. Where it's just like we're just peeping toms a little bit, teenage boys having a laugh.
Yeah.
But then in hindsight, you'd be like, it is fucked up that, again, she gets punished and gets sent back to Romania or Siberia or wherever, and he just gets to be like, I'm never going to get laid. it's pretty fucked up. Pretty fucked up.
Well, he's the star of the movie. He needs to be in it. He can't go to Siberia.
Yeah, he really, he lucks out there. The big thing I want to talk about in this episode, Keith.
What's that?
The big question I have for you. I want to talk about the cast. Because this film was so well received and successful, and obviously inspired a legacy that continues to this day. There will always be rumblings of new American Pie movies. There are, as we speak, the potential for American Pie 5. And,
they're really gonna do the like after a reunion. They're gonna do with this cast.
There's always rumblings. Tara Reid, Jason Biggs, everybody has quoted in some article here and there. It's fascinating to me. They're never not going to be asked about it. You know what I mean? Like these poor people can't do an interview without someone being like, "What's up with American Pie?" Like the cultural impact that this has had is so astounding in 25 years. So I was looking at this and I thought, this film, as successful and as influential and game changing in so many ways as it was, should have really generated like the next crop of comedic young stars to rise up. And if you look at this movie, I wouldn't be so hyperbolic to say, is there a curse? But like no one really broke through. And I really spent a lot of time on IMDb looking at everyone's next projects, because in 99, I think Smart Money might have been on, 5 or 6 of these kids are going to become like the next wave of at least comedic stars. Like Jason Biggs, Mena Suvari, Chris Klein, that handsome boy, Eddie K. Thomas, Finch. Like these people you think would be like, this is the next crop. And none of them really panned out. Now, it's going to sound like I'm being insulting. I want to preface this entire conversation by saying I'm not being insulting to any of these people. They've all carved out their own successful niches in the world. So I'm not being critical or judgmental when I go like, they've all done nothing since this. Like, that's not what I'm being like. Nobody became a star. And this movie should have made 5 people stars.
I don't think teen comedies, I think they're disposable. I think Hollywood probably looks at them as more disposable. I don't think it's a huge ensemble cast, and I think they credit the story and I don't want to say nostalgia, but the slice of life, the relation. Like you just hit the nail on the head of like what the youth is going through at that time, and the people gravitate towards that, not to the stars.
But don't you think that should buy you enough goodwill to like? And a lot of them got opportunities. Like
they got opportunities. I just don't. None of them really panned out.
But that's my question. Okay, so I guess my question is, do you think that they just weren't talented enough to become stars, or do you think that they made poor choices in the films that followed, or do you think that it's like you're saying, like no one took them seriously at any point, so they never really were going to be stars? Or do you think this is my main question, do you think it was bad casting? That's my ultimate twist here. Do you think the film had poor casting because do you think the casting director did a poor job? Because I would argue that this film should have generated a few stars. You had Seann William Scott as Stifler, as to me, the walk away.
Yeah, he is.
He's the person you go see this movie and you leave and you go, that guy's a star. And he had a decent run.
Yeah, he had a great run. He was like an action star for a couple years.
For one movie. That's what I was looking at. I was looking. he came out of this and did Road Trip, which is he's basically the same character.
Yep.
Dude, Where's My Car? And he had some really memorable cameos in movies like Old School and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And then in 03, 4 years later, he does The Rundown. I think The Rundown is like a solid movie, and he proves he can be like a great number 2 in an action comedy. Yeah. And then he does Dukes of Hazzard, which I actually love. No one else loves that movie.
Yeah, but Dukes of think about that. Dukes of Hazzard that's probably where it all went wrong, because that movie didn't do well.
It didn't. And then he did Southland Tales the next year, which was supposed to be like an art house action movie that didn't do well. But then in 08, he did Role Models. And Role Models was a reasonable success and high profile.
I truly love Role Models. I truly love that movie.
But then nothing, he had Goon and movies that were low-key loved, but why isn't he Ryan Reynolds? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't he? And he's the most successful out of all of them.
Yeah. So he is, to answer your question, he is the breakout star of that movie. I think that's answers your question. He was what you were looking for. He is that guy. He did it. He was the breakout star.
No, but he's not like a name now. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like... what is he like again, it sounds like I'm being insulting.
He's not Brad Pitt, but there's only, I think what you're looking for is you're threading a needle here. Like there's only so many of those A-list, unbelievable, career-long, Samuel L. Jacksons. There's just who are you trying to compare
Ryan
him
Gosling.
to?
Chris, why isn't Sean William Scott an Avenger? You know what I mean? How come he hasn't?
Because I think you get pigeonholed. I think if you lead with comedy, you're fucked.
But that's a great point in general, is that was American Pie so iconic and influential that they all just became that? And it's almost like the Seinfeld curse that persisted for a long time until Julia Louis-Dreyfus could work her way out of it.
Yes.
But
it took her a long time to get out of it too.
Yeah.
I think with comedy more so than drama, yes. Because you're more familiar and you're more likable, because comedies are more likable in that sense. It's just you're that guy. You're that guy.
No, people think that I'm that guy. Yeah. They think that I'm Stifler, and in the beginning of my career, I was like, well, I'm not really that fictional character.
Stifler is always going to be Stifler. My wife only refers to him as Stifler. When she sees
people don't know the
Stifler, name. I don't think you can have comedy wears thin quickly. The climate of comedy changes so quickly. So you're funny today, you're not funny tomorrow, because of the temperament of people, not because you are not funny anymore. And I think if that's how you start and that's how the industry sees you, you become a dime a dozen. I think you're a victim of it. You're a victim of its own success.
Well, yeah, and then the trapping of that continues is because you keep getting pigeonholed and you're not getting the roles that you want, the only high-profile roles that come to you are the sequels to this film, which is why they almost all appeared. Stifler was in 4 movies as Stifler. So you just continue to perpetuate that cycle that's the only thing that people know you as, which is really crazy. You're in this huge movie and you think I am positioned to be a star. I'm 20 years old, as most of these people were when they shot American Pie. It's really crazy. To me, Jason Biggs is very funny. I think Jason Biggs is a talented guy.
I think you're selling him short too. Saving Silverman's really funny. Saving Silverman's great. I think it's an underrated comedy.
It's all right. But I mean, you look at any of these people in the 4 years immediately following American Pie, a lot of them you can see, these are my shots. I got 3 or 4 movies that are my shots to show what I can do outside of the American Pie universe, and almost all of them are duds. Saving Silverman was not a dud, but he's not the lead. I mean, what, right? Is he the second, third, fourth?
Well, I mean, he's third. I think he's third. The movie's about him, but go ahead. Yeah.
But I just mean the other movies that he was the leading man. You got to show you can carry a film. Boys and Girls with Freddie Prinze Jr., and Loser, which was a movie that his love interest was Mena Suvari, so that was another one right after That's for like movies that didn't do well, and so that it goes to show just how fickle the industry is. Like I really felt bad for these people that like, man, you make like 2 or 3, in some cases with these people only like 1, like missteps, and your momentum is derailed, and some executive is sitting in an office and goes, fuck, that guy can't carry a film, gone. But you're like, your whole career's done. I mean, not done again.
I think maybe I don't know. Like we all need to not be delusional and think that this is easy. Like it's.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying like, it's just amazing to be an American Pie. Like what a feat to get that far. It's like saying, oh, you got to the NBA, but you were the 7th man off the bench, and the 9th man on the team. Yeah, that's fucking amazing. Like that's amazing. Yeah. And just because you couldn't land another team or whatever, like the 1%, you're a 0.5% chance to get where you got.
Yeah.
You know,
reach the top of the mountain, if only for a short time. Most people don't even sniff that mountain.
Sniff it, yeah. I would cut off a finger to be an American Pie. That would be awesome. You know, great for all these actors.
I wanted to a couple other of the stars, because I do think it's interesting, because I know it's just a matter of like luck and circumstance that folks don't blow up. But Chris Klein, I feel like they really tried. They
definitely tried.
They gave him Rollerball. If you ever saw Rollerball, LL Cool J and Rebecca Romaine Stamos, was that her name?
Sure.
Something like that. That movie is famously bad. Oh, he was also in Say It Ain't So, Say It Isn't So. Your Farrelly Brothers movie. I think
that's the movie that killed him with Heather Grant.
Like, can't do it.
I think that was it. He's in really Just Friends. He's in Just Friends. I like Just Friends.
He's a funny performer in general, but in this movie too, because like there are scenes where like I remember him as being such a bad actor, but there are extended scenes where I think he does really well. Like he's good at a very specific thing, and then there are extended scenes where he is not good at all.
Why does he whisper so much? Like why does he talk the way that he talks in this movie?
That would be great.
He's like kind of being Alec Baldwin, but doesn't have the gravel to his voice, so it just kind of sounds like he's
light. It's very
whispering
light.
A little.
Yeah.
Oh man, why are you here?
Well, I don't know when the last time you watched Election was, which came out the same year, which was one of my favorite films, an early Alexander Payne movie. He basically plays the exact same character, but to a much more, like, I love Election, but his performance is like so much more annoying because it's just that times 10.
I mean, life is so weird.
Where he's just like, oh yeah, oh yeah,
go easy, bro. Like, why are you?
He's just so handsome and tall.
He is handsome.
They tried to give him the world. They tried. They were like, this guy, he's got to be. It doesn't matter if he can act. You know, we've given Keanu Reeves a career. This guy can do it.
Yeah, they did try.
Yeah, I think he's very funny. And then Tara Reid, obviously, like a lot of these folks had struggles afterwards. Like I think the fame of this, Tara Reid, Chris Klein got in several DUI trouble. Natasha Lyonne got into some drug trouble for an extended period after this film.
She's the biggest star out of all of them today.
I thought so too, but then I really looked at her IMDb and I was like, what do I actually know her from?
She had she's got it was a huge show, and then got the other show. I don't remember that.
No, but even that stuff is in the last 7 to 10 years, so sure. But yeah, throughout those 2000s, throughout the aughts, like, what was she doing that made her that? Like, Orange is the New Black is the first show I think you're talking about.
Yes.
And then Russian Doll is the second show. And Russian Doll, I think.
And then the new Peacock show too. She got our
she's great.
boy from
no
Glass
disrespect.
Onion.
No disrespect.
Yeah, she's been doing shit.
Yeah, but again, this sounds like I'm being belittling or diminishing, but like, not a movie star. And so that was to my original point, was like Seann William Scott sort of got the closest to like, oh, that guy's a movie star before it kind of fizzled. I wanted to mention Mena Suvari. Were you a fan, Keith? Were you a connoisseur?
I was not.
In '99?
No. And American Beauty, I didn't get it. I didn't. It's just not for me.
American Beauty's coming too, by the way. We got a lot of episodes I'm promising here. American Beauty's an episode. So I felt like I was of the generation that we all just had a crush on Mena Suvari, primarily because of the 1-2 of American Beauty and American Pie that same year, where you were like, oh, this girl's the new it girl. She's the girl.
Yeah, I remember her being that, but I just wasn't that attracted to her.
So what I found out, so that's how you belittle her. I understand. That's how
you asking me if
I didn't personally want to fuck her, so I didn't really pay attention to her. Don't think she's that talented.
I didn't say any of that. You set me up for failure.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, kid. That's why I'm here. Yeah. What I thought was funny. Okay, so you have American Beauty, you have American Pie. There is a third film that was released in 1999, starring Mena Suvari, that starts with American. And that film is called American Virgin. Okay? And this is a film I had never heard of before today. And I was like, what are the fucking odds that this girl's in 3 movies that start with American in the same year? Turns out the original title of American Virgin was Live Virgin. They changed it because of the success of American Pie and American Beauty, they want to say. And they literally put in the promotional materials.
And Mena Suvari of American Beauty, American Pie, and now American Virgin.
You have to go watch this trailer. I will never encourage you to leave this channel. Leave this channel right now and go look up the trailer for American Virgin. It is the most gasp-inducing, shocking thing I have seen in a long time. From what I can gather from the trailer, it is about 2 elderly warring heads of pornography producers. So they own production companies, and in their battle, one of them recruits the daughter of the other one, the teenage daughter of the other one, to come lose her virginity in his porn.
First time the virgin is deflowered on a live show.
And not just that, it's this new futuristic technology where she's going to lose her virginity in this porn, but it also comes with, like, they're distributing suits, like VR suits, to anyone who watches so that they can experience what it's like to have sex with this young girl.
Thousands of men will be able to participate with interactive sex.
And the whole... I mean, that's enough. That's enough.
I keep going. I think it's...
No. You see, like, the suit and the phallus, and it's all just like these 2 old guys. It's Bob Hoskins, of all people, and Robert Loggia, who are the sparring partners, and they're yelling at each other like, oh, my daughter, don't do it. Oh, like, just, it's so awful.
Is this a comedy?
Yes, it is played as like a slapstick. Oh, this is crazy. Don't do it. Don't sleep with the whole world.
Katrina! Please come to daddy.
And then the cab driver's driving her, and it's like, hey, you're the chick I'm gonna bang later through my virtual reality suit.
Hey, don't I know you? You're the girl I'm gonna pork tomorrow night.
It is. I am not offended by anything. I was offended, and I want us to do it. I want us to do, like. We all need to. This movie needs to be talked about more. It's directed by a Frenchman, of course. Just kidding. We tease the French. We love the French. But like, it's his one film. It's his one film he's ever directed. And I'm just
what a surprise! He didn't get a second chance.
Lines up. I'm telling you, if you take anything away from this episode, American Virgin '99. Let's all go find it. I'd be shocked if you could even find it. Like, I'm sure it's been buried.
Yeah, it sounds awful. It sounds awful. You mentioned the cast. I think the star of the show on this rewatch is Eugene Levy. Eugene Levy is fucking priceless. Like, I think everything he does is so funny. Like, in general, I've always enjoyed him. I'm not just a Schitt's Creek didn't open the doors to Eugene Levy for me.
Best in Show, all the
Christopher Guest movies. Yeah, like he is a comedic icon in my opinion. And my favorite, I wanted to do the research, so I don't know if what I'm about to say is correct. I'm going to give my opinion on it. But like, he seems like such a great comedic mind that it feels like everything he's doing is improvised. It feels like all his scenes are, and I don't know if that's true or not. I hope I'm right.
You're lying. You're lying. You looked it up.
I swear to God, I didn't look. I wanted to.
Yeah. That's one of the factoids about this movie is that he didn't like the character, thought the character was written creepy, so took the director aside and said, "I want to improvise everything," and all of his dialogue is improvised.
Yeah, there you go. See, but you can feel it. Like I know comedy. It just, but you can really feel like that's the best part of it. Is like you can feel him working with these kids who I don't think are great actors. Like and like they're not like they need to come into their own a little bit. But you can feel him like working with them to get there. Because the comedy from when I'm younger, I'm watching like Jason Biggs when they're talking about the magazines and the condoms stuck to his butt and like all that stuff. like it's all funny. When you're younger, you're like Jason Biggs is being funny because it's so awkward. But Eugene Levy is driving the comedy in that scene. Everything is working off of his orbit, and he is pushing and pulling like a true, I don't want to say master, maybe I'm overdoing it a bit, but he is so talented in just like finding the comedy beats, leaning into them, pulling out when he needs to, letting his partner do the work when his partner needs to do the work. Like his improvisational skills are like on display, and I'm like, this just feels great. It just feels
almost
great.
Looks like an underwater plant of some kind.
It almost looks like a tropical plant or something underwater.
Yeah.
Thing.
Hey, big boy. Hey.
It's so great to like watch him like looking at it from an adult perspective and like loving to analyze comedy very much now. Like I can see it and it's amazing to watch. It's really just great. And he does that throughout his whole career, but just because we're talking about this film, it's great to see him make those scenes really work.
Totally. Well, and he brings a level of like importance to this too. I feel like the proceedings, like it brings a legitimacy where you're like, oh, you have Eugene Levy, and I remember thinking that at the time too, like being sort of aware of the Christopher Guest things and just being like, oh, this guy's here, and it's sort of like by proxy he's signing off on this next generation of talent. Like he's here, and Jennifer Coolidge too, in hindsight, as Stifler's mom, where you're like, oh, they're getting those great respected comedians, and then in the sequels they got Fred Willard and Catherine O'Hara might show up as a parent or something, I don't remember, but like they're tapping that group, which was such a respected, talented group that you're like, oh, these people, these funny elders are saying this is worth their time, and that goes a long way in this genre.
He's so funny.
He's fantastic.
It's so great.
Can't overstate the contributions that this film made to the lexicon. First and foremost, MILF.
That chick's a MILF.
What the hell is that?
MILF. Mom, I'd like to fuck.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you just create a word that becomes a genre on Pornhub?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
Because I want to do it. I want to create my own Pornhub genre.
What does that look like to you, Keith?
What is my own Pornhub? I just want to create one. I just want to be responsible. Like Lil Wayne
specific.
From Bling Bling. You know, I want my moment.
All right, here's a little trivia for you.
Okay.
Who of the memorable characters, which I know is subjective, there's two people that were of the high schoolers that have lines. There are two people who are tied for the oldest that they were at the time of production. Who do you think those two people are?
Allison Hannigan? Is that her name?
Okay.
So that's her name, right?
Allison Hannigan, yes.
Her and the Rookie of the Year.
Did he say funky butt loving?
Thomas Ian Nicholson. No, you're wrong on both counts. Allison Hannigan is close. She was 25, which puts her second place to these two.
She was 25?
She was 25.
They're
Allison Hannigan might have had the best career out of everybody.
She probably made the most money.
Yeah, that's true.
She's probably the most wealthy.
She's very funny, too.
She is very
funny in this movie. It's a good job. The two oldest people were 26, each of them. John Cho of MILF fame, and Nadia, Shannon Elizabeth.
She was 26?
Clearly a fully grown woman. It's like there's no mystery there. To me, I'm shocked that 26 was the oldest. Like, we were watching that first party scene at Stifler's too, where it's like, a couple of these motherfuckers at least 40. Like, the guy's got like widow's peak balding, like the guy taking shots like Stifler party. Like that guy's my dad's age now. You know, like it did not make sense that 26 would be the oldest. So how should we end it, Keith?
I don't know. I always like to rank things. Where do you put this? Where do you put this movie on any kind of list? Comedies, teen sex comedies, however you want to narrow it down. Where does this rank for you?
I mean, I'd have to say it's pretty high, honestly. Like, I went into this rewatch thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have a laugh. You know, I'm gonna have a laugh and be like, wow, can't believe what I used to think was so funny. And it's still really funny, and to me, I think it's a solid film. Like, I think it's like a well-crafted, you know, if I may be so bold.
You're being bold.
Like just well-done movie. And so I think the importance of this film and the impact it had, I mean, look no further again than the 8 sequels or whatever, and the fact that there will be more. There will be more 30 years later starring these people of American Pie. Like, its influence is huge, and I think it's still enjoyable to watch in a way that high-profile movies from that time aren't always the case. Like, it's aged better than it had any business aging. You know what I mean? Like, it should be like, oh my God, what a nightmare that movie is. And now there's only like we talked about, really just one scene in particular, one major construct, and then several other little things. But I mean, it's up there in terms of like
teen comedies or teen movies. I think high school movies would be the category I would give it. Teen high school movies. Is it a top 10 for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I immediately put it in the top 10. If you're considering everything, if you're considering impact and influence and success and joy and all that shit, you know, like I always think, I know there's a lot of John Hughes stuff from the 80s that's great. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is incredible, but to me, American Pie deserves to be in that conversation with any of those that you might think are in the top 10, Clueless or Mean Girls or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah, I take every movie you just named over American Pie. It is just outside probably my top 10. It's probably in that 10 to 15 range for me, which is still great.
Still great.
I don't mean to say that as a knock. There's a lot of great teen films out there. This is one of them, and I agree. I think it deserves the conversation to be in that. Should it be? Like, it should be in that conversation of like, should it or should it not be? For me, just outside. A toast.
A toast.
A toast. To jerking off into socks.
I'm so old.
So I said, this is very obviously a Piero della Francesca.